Hey guys, it's Denise from LoomaHat.com. For this project, we're going to learn to make a headband scarf. This is a bit of an experiment and I hope you guys like it. Let me know what you think in the comments. But first, please watch the whole video before you begin the project. For this part of the project, we're going to use one strand of yarn. So secure it to the anchor peg and then you're going to wrap every peg. You're then going to knit the next row using the U-wrap version of the knit stitch. Your cast on is done. Now remove the working yarn from the anchor peg and we're going to start working on our brim. We're going to use a single rib stitch and this is your starter. So you're going to knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So you're going to continue with the knit one, purl one, and you have a decision to make at this point. You can knit 25 rows for a wide brim like the yellow headband, or 15 rows for a narrow brim like the white one. I'm using an odd number loom, and so I have at the end 2 stitches that I'll have to either do 2 knits or 2 purls, and for me I'm going to do 2 purls. Don't worry, this is barely noticeable. When you're finished with your rows, find that working yarn that you started with and with a crochet hook feed it through. You don't have to do this, you do this only if you want to. And I want it on this side only because I want to fold it into the brim, into the fabric. And then I'm going to find the first rows that I did and I'm going to remount them onto the loom, and I'm going to pull on those first loops just a little bit, just so it gives me enough slack when I get to the last pegs when it's time to remount, because those get really tight, and this helps out. Now we're going to knit off these pegs, sort of like to seal the brim. Now you're going to need to get a second strand of yarn, and we're going to be working with 2 as 1. So you're going to need to make a slip knot, and for that wrap the yarn around your finger, pull that little loop you just made off, and then take the working yarn and you're going to feed it through that loop to create the slip knot. And then you're going to take that slip knot and you're going to place it on the last peg. Then you're going to tie that short end to the existing working yarn with a very simple knot. Just basically wrap it around, make the knot, and if you feel a little better you can go ahead and make a second knot. After you've gotten that done, things are going to change up a bit. So we're going to start knitting flat, and we're going to go from this first peg to midway. For me, it's this one right here, which is peg number 20, and then I'm going to come around to this one right here. So I go back to peg 1, and I'm going to wrap and knit off each peg, which is a double E-wrap knit stitch. Remember that if you're using the 36 peg loom, then you're only going to go up to peg 18. And at this point, when you meet that halfway, you're going to start to decrease by moving the second to last stitch over to the left, and then that last stitch, which is peg 20 for me, over to the last one. And then you're going to knit off that second to last peg that has 2 loops, and then you're going to purl, and this purl is going to keep your fabric from curling. So you knit and purl that same peg, and then you're going to start again with the double E-wrap knit stitch that you're going to knit around the whole loom. In fact, you're going to see that you're going to get back to peg 1 where you started, but this is no longer your peg 1 anymore, so you're just going to keep knitting. The one next to it is where you add it, so you have 2 loops because you added that second strand of yarn right here. And then, like I said, just ignore it. These are no longer pegs 1 and 2. You have a new peg 1 and 2, and here now is your last peg, because remember, we're knitting flat. You're going to knit off, and you're going to decrease again, moving those last 2 loops. In this case, because you're on the other side of your work, you're going to move them over to the right. You have 1 peg with 2 loops that you're going to knit off, and you're going to come back to that same peg, and you're going to do a purl. And remember, this is to keep your fabric from curling. Now we're going in the opposite direction, and we're going to do that double E-wrap knit stitch. And your goal is to get right back to the other end to decrease again. Keep knitting and decreasing. When you're down to the last 2 or 3 loops, then just bring them all together onto 1 peg, and then you're going to knit them all off. Wrap and knit the last peg. You're going to cut the excess yarn, and then with your hook pull the loop out. And you're basically done, but you do have the option of attaching a pom-pom.